Alrighty, so fresh off the Amazon truck, we have the Kemimoto, or Kemimoto, however you want to pronounce this. It's that kind. And we got another heated vest. So I'm no stranger to these heated vests. I've had several of them, and I've had a couple of jackets. They're all pretty much the same, the ones I've had in the past. This one might be a little different than what I'm used to. So in the box, we'll take a look at the contents of the box. So we have our garment, and we have our user manual, and we have our battery pack. So I think the battery pack is something different that I'm not really used to of these things. So we'll take a look at the battery pack first. Unlike other conventional YouTube channels, we'll take, instead of looking at the garment first, we're going to look at the battery pack first, because I think this thing is a little different than when I'm normal. So it's about the same size as the ones I have. Of course, this is a USB-C. Comes with a dual plug USB-C, so USB-C on each end. So it's kind of familiar to my other ones. Kind of like that kind, which is also USB-C. So it's got the same USB-A, USB-C input-output. And I think I have another one with the same kind. A little thicker though. So here's another one that's about similar size. All about the same milliamp hour, 10,000 milliamp hour rating. So pretty much all the same. So here's the other one. So I got several of these battery packs because like I mentioned, I have several of these garments laying around. So, of course, obviously we can see that these are a thin profile versus the little bit chunkier profile of the other ones. So that is interesting. Kind of interesting, but also kind of the same for me. So let's see. Let's check out this so-called power bank. So it claims it's 10,000 milliamp hours, but in reality, it's really not that much because of the conversions and because you're taking, you're boosting voltages. And this is supposed to be a PD power one. So let's see. Does it got a button? Yeah, it does. Oh, that's cool. So it's actually got a digital display of a percentage of battery life left. So that's pretty cool. Unlike my other ones where they just give you like 4 lights. How many lights are there? There are 4 lights! So if you're a Trekkie, you know where that episode come from. Not a diehard Trekkie, but... So this is supposed to be a PD power, unlike my other ones, which are not PD power, even though they claim that they are, but they're not. Oh, hell yeah. So we got PD power here. A true PD power. Of course, this particular circuit is very picky. Very picky on the amperage. I don't know why it is. Of course, I think that one has a bad connector that I have to fix again. So next time the microscope is out, I have to fix that. Okay, so this is definitely a PD power, so it's charging at 9 volts at 2 amps. So that is going to charge very quickly. So definitely you need a PD power charger that will do at least 9 volts at 2 amps to recharge this thing quickly. Unlike my other ones, which are stuck at 5 volts. They still charge at 2 amps, but it takes a long time to charge these. It takes a couple hours, really. It's like these ones here, it claims that it's a PD power, but it's not. So we're about, I don't know, depending on how much you wiggle the connector, it's about 2.3 amps, which is fairly decent. So that's a huge upgrade for me. Definitely worth getting more of them. Just because it's PD power. Of course, depending on the pocket, you can stick a bigger PD powered power bank in there. But these little ones, you definitely want them because of the just the bulk savings. Not having to feel that when you're bending or picking up something that's close to your body, and you have that thing stabbing in your rib cage and stuff like that. So we got our user guide here. So operation instructions. Connect the battery. Switch will light up red, blue, green in sequence and then automatically turn off. Long press the middle switch for 3 seconds. The red light indicates high temperature. So press the button in sequence to adjust the gear. The blue light indicates medium temperature and the green light indicates a low temperature. Short press the button below to turn off the light. Oh, so this is one that you can turn off the lights. So that's pretty handy. Because it's, especially at night, that light can get, light on your vest can actually get quite distracting. And then long press for 3 seconds to turn it on or off. And then we got red, blue, and green for our temperature settings. Usually it's red, white, and blue, depending on the model. Recommended use of a mesh laundry bag. So line dry, machine wash. You can't wash this in a wash machine. Gentle cycle in cold water, hand wash in cold cycle. Do not iron, do not bleach, do not dry clean, do not wring or twist. So that is definitely something you definitely want in a laundry bag. Because I've actually destroyed a jacket because the sleeves got entangled and it pulled the garment and it pulled all the wires out inside the junction block and pulled all the heating pads out and all that other stuff. And then all the precautions of the battery and blah, blah, blah. App operation instruction. Really? This was advertised when I bought this off of Amazon. It doesn't say anything about an app. So that is cool. This thing really connects to an app. So let's download that. So we'll use our camera. And our heat tech. Okay. Well, that looks cool. Hand warmer, collar, and back. So it looks like we got several different features, depending on the garment, I would guess. Okay, Mr. Camera, get lost. So we'll download that. Well, that didn't take nothing. find two Bluetooth. Yeah. It'll find it. So unconnected. So we got hand warmer. So by default, it thinks it's got the vest, but it doesn't really know until you connect it. So that's pretty cool. So we got a hand warmer, collar, and back, which is normal for most of these heated garments. Some of them got a little bit more, some of them got a little bit less. So not much of an instruction booklet. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pages. And of course, this is one of them, all the precautions are taken. Make sure you don't put it on people who don't have enough sensitivity to hot or cold and stuff like that. Because I did have another jacket that one of the heating pads in the very back, right in, I think it was my left shoulder blade or something like that, in that area, it actually was arcing inside and getting hot enough to you could actually feel the burn. So that is something you want to watch out for the low sensitivity people. So let's get the star of the show, and that's the actual garment itself. So this one, it's kind of copied what Columbia has done with the internal reflective silver lining. So I've had them too, and they're actually quite very nice to have, especially not so much at stationary activities, because it doesn't matter what, no matter what you wear. If you're stationary long enough, you're going to get cold. But if you do have a brisk walk or a moderate activity, this reflective coating in these things actually does really reflect the heat back toward you, and actually to the point where you can actually start sweating. So that is pretty cool. So I like this. This is probably the first one I had. No, this is actually the second one I had that had the silver reflective lining in the middle. But the first one, after a couple of washers, that was completely gone. Just might as well say wear and tear. So I got another vest that's got this same feature here. So this flap here is actually your neck warmer, or I shouldn't say or. It should say neck warmer or upper back warmer. So if you want to warm your neck up, you flip this up with your collar, and it'll heat the back of your neck up, which is very nice. I had another one of these that had this same feature. It's actually quite nice. Or if you don't want all that heat on your neck, you can fold it down, and it warms up the base of your neck. So that's pretty neat. Of course, there's a pad here. So there's 2 pads right here at your back. So you got 3 pads that you can have potentially on your back. So you got this one here, and then you got a pad here and a pad here. So that's pretty neat. Basically standard issue, really, I should say. And then this thing's got hand warmers in it, which is actually quite different than I ever had. So this is your basic nylon, like your standard everyday nylon vests and stuff like that. Here's your control panel. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons on it and 5 buttons. So you got your main power button, which is your KM. So long press for 3 seconds to turn it on or off, and then you can cycle through the different spots. So, and here is your light feature where you can turn the lights on or off. So I like that. So this one on the right looks like it's your upper back one. And this one looks like your collar. And this one is your hand warmers. So very nice. I do like this, and it's the very first gray one that I had. So nylon front. It's got kind of like a fleece side panels. and it's got drawstring, so you can cinch it up. Oh, let's see, what kind of zipper do we got? So, what's this? SBS zipper. So, not your typical YKK zipper, but should be good enough. Because I've had several of them China Pride zippers, and they promptly failed. So that's a nice zipper. We got our little chest pocket, so you can stick your phone in or something like that. So you can hide your phone, keep your phone warm. Doesn't have a heating pad behind it, but that's fine. So that is that for that little pocket. And then we got our interior pocket, which is going to house our, usually is going to most likely house our cord to plug in. So almost the same cord that I have in one of my other vests. So it's got a little spot to keep from pulling your cord all the way out, but you don't want to put too much pressure on this because you will yank this out even with the cord stopper. So don't put a lot of pressure on that when you're pulling that out, because you might rip the wires out going up to the button. So you definitely want to be kind of cautious with these things. Definitely want to be careful when you're washing these that you don't. Definitely put it in the laundry bag so it doesn't get twisted and yanked. Because if you got a good wash machine like I do, it will have no problem destroying this, especially if it gets wound up with other garments. So here's our side pockets. So your typical standard side pockets, and these ones have the heating pads in the pockets, but these are actually a little different than I'm used to, and you can actually pull them out. So something that you can grab onto. So, of course, we all know that once your fingers get cold, you want to warm them up. So that's pretty neat. I never had one like this where you can pull out the hand warmers. Usually it's just a pad in your pocket, and the closest that you can get is, when you got your hands in your pocket, the pad's always going to be toward the inside of the garment. So you got to warm your palm up and kind of flip it in your pocket to warm your knuckles up and stuff like that. So that's quite nice. I like that. Give you a little stress relief too. You can squeeze it. That's pretty cool. Of course, the same thing for the other pocket. It's gonna have the same hand warmer. So that's quite nice. I like that feature. Of course, you definitely want to zip these up when you're washing it so that these don't getting yanked out. You want to be careful with that. So overall, this is a very nice garment. I do like this. It's different than what I'm used to, but similar in some areas and different in others. So these are your your little tags and stuff like that. So we'll cut them off. So that's neat. So when you're in the market for these things, this is a garment that you definitely want as your second layer of your base layer. So your base layer is going to be, something that is going to be fairly close to your skin and stuff like that. So let me take this So as I was saying, this is a type of jacket or heated, any kind of heated garment. You want this as close to your skin as possible. You don't want to have it, over a heavy shirt or a sweatshirt or another fleece jacket or something like that. You want this one as close to your body as you can get it. So something like your Under Armour or your Reebok or your Adidas or your Nike or something like that. So you definitely want, either a fitted or a compression cold gear type shirt. And then you have this, and then, maybe one of them heavy flannel shirts or a Henley or a lighter jacket. So you definitely want something like this right next to your body, because you want the heating pads in this reflective lining to do as much work for you as possible. So you also want to size it. You kind of want it a little bit on the looser fitted side, I would say. You don't want it skin tight, because I had one that was a little too tight, and like I said, just the everyday activities like pulling and pushing and just everyday activities, I actually pulled the wires out from the main switch over here, and same thing on the back, where I felt that one wire actually arcing and burning me. So you definitely want kind of fitted. I would say a loose fitted. So this one is pretty tight to my body, where you can still move around, but it's still close enough to you where you can feel its warmth. So we'll hope you heard that. So definitely one of them deals. So the way they got the pocket, is that the one? Yep. So the pocket for the battery is in a different spot for me that I'm used to. It's on your side. So that's a little different, because usually it's more in the front. So that's pretty neat. So we'll power this sucker up. So sometimes you'll have to boot up the power bank if it doesn't come on automatically. So there we go. So we're on. So now we're in preheat mode. If this has a preheat mode, I don't know if it does. I didn't see it in the book. Oh man, I can already feel it coming on. Oh baby. This is going to feel nice. I can't. You won't be able to hear me. I'll have to put this out here. Just a couple of seconds, I can already feel the heating pads. So, normally, if this is anything like my other ones, this thing will preheat for like 10 minutes, and then it will tone itself down to like a medium speed. So that's pretty good. So I think the center button, I think you can change all the heats at the same time. So I'll push the button. Yep. So if you push the center button, it will control all the zones all at once. So we're on low, medium, and high. And then we got our individual settings. So once you get used to where the placement are, like the collar, your collar is always going to be the top button. So you can have each setting at a different temperature, which is quite nice, because like my other garments that I have, it's all but one has got the same feature that this one's got, where you can change the individual zones heating pads, because sometimes you don't need all that heat on some days on the back of your neck, and sometimes you don't need all that heat in your pockets, especially if you don't have your hands in your pockets all the time. Like, these feel nice. So even these things on medium, these things feel real nice. I like these. So in theory, what you're going to do is you want just enough heat to keep you warm, but you also want to conserve battery power if you only got the one pack. But if you got spare packs, like I do, then you really don't care. But if you only got the one or two, and you expect to be out more than, you know, it's got a time frame how many hours it runs. So I don't think this one is Bluetooth. I don't think, even though instruction says it does. So maybe it does. We're gonna go there to see if it doesn't work. Let's see. Does it have any specifications? Okay, that does. Doesn't give me the temperatures though, but it's usually warm enough where you can feel it pretty good. So it says the heating level can be adjusted by pressing the power button. I've already showed that. So the center button will control all of them, or you got the individual controls of all three. So at 77 degrees, so that's about almost right in this room, the heat will rise to about 122 to 131 Fahrenheit, or 50 to 55 C on high. So the heating pads will be at about 155 degrees-ish. So, of course, it's got to go through several different layers, so you're not going to get 155 on your skin. So that would be rather uncomfortable. And then medium heat setting is going to be about 113 to 122, 45 to 50 C, and on low it's going to be about 104 to 113, or 40 to 45 C. So the lower the temperature, the longer it's going to run. And it claims, from what I read on the Amazon site, your low setting is going to be about 6 to 8 hours. So you can just imagine if you had it on medium, it's going to be 3 to 4 hours, or 4 to 5 hours, and on high it's going to be about 3 to 4 hours, something like that. So that's usually about right for these particular heated garments. So let's see, is there anything else on here that's special? And of course, depending on where your location, sometimes you can get these lights to reflect on the glass of a vehicle, or it's just distracting in general. So you can hit this white button here and turn the lights off and still have the garment on. So that's a nice feature to have, because sometimes these LEDs are quite bright. Even though in here I got the lights on pretty bright, these are almost dazzling, especially green, because your human eye is very sensitive to green. So, but you got full control of all the individual settings. And then, of course, if you don't care about that, you just generally want to trigger them all, just like that. Turn the light on and off. And, of course, if you push and hold the main power button for 3 seconds, it'll turn it off. So, very nice, especially having these hand warmers that you can actually grip. So, like I said, and then this thing is got an elastic waistband. So you can cinch it up, so you can have it nice and tight. But you can see this is kind of tight on me. I got a little room to move, which is about right, because like I said, you want a little room so when you're bending and twisting and stuff like that, you don't put a lot of strain on this garment, because you'll definitely rip the wires out. So I know, because I've done it, because I've done it to several of them. So I don't know if this thing is going to come to the app. So I'll go to my Bluetooth. It might be in there. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't see anything popping up. So we'll try. Let's try rebooting it. But like I said, the your battery is right here on your side. It's actually right at your hip. So usually they're right about here. So anytime you like lean against something, you're always hitting the battery pack. So that's pretty neat for me. So let's see. I don't think this is a Bluetooth one, like the manual says. Yeah, I don't see it coming up. So I don't think this one is on the... But this sucker on high, I can really feel the heat. Yeah, this particular one, even though in the manual it says it's Bluetooth ready. But I didn't see it on the Amazon site. And it's not on the... doesn't say anything on the box about the Bluetooth, so probably not. Turn that off for a minute. Because it would have come up by now if it was a Bluetooth. So I don't think this one has it. So it's probably just a generic. Probably just a generic manual for several garments or something like that. Because I got the NR connected clothing to power source that's shown figure 1. Turn on Bluetooth at your device, open the drop down menu at the top of the screen, click the Bluetooth icon, blah, blah, blah. So, I don't think it has it. Because it would have come up by now. Not that it matters. Anyway, we will... So this thing has been on for a little while. So let's do a thermal imaging of this garment since it's been on. Let's see how warm it is. So I do like this one. This was a nice one. So we're still on. So let's get the thermal imager out. So this thing has been on for a little while. So there's that heated collar port. So it's about $1.50. Of course, the button itself lights up too. So where's that? It's currently on the bottom. So there's where the hand warmer is, at the base of the vest. So you can see up here, it gets cooler and warmer down there. So we'll get the actual hand warmer out. Oh yeah, I like that. Look at that, you can actually see the heating grids in there. Of course you can't see it, I gotta get closer to you. So there's the imager. Here's the, you can actually see the heating elements in the thermal imager. How cool is that? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 bands in there, or 4 wires in there. So that's pretty cool. I love it. Let's see if we can do the same thing with that collar. See where the heating bands are. Oh yeah. So you got about 4 wraps of the heating wire inside this thing. So that's about, like I said, that was about $1.50. And then these back parts, we got these parts. Oh yeah. So there's the wires on these. There's my big old fingers in the way. So this heating area in the back is actually quite large. Because usually most, like the other ones I got, they're not as pronounced as these back ones. Usually they're maybe half the size. But it's pretty cool to see the actual heating element. But you can only see it through a thermal imager camera. So that's pretty cool. Of course, now I'm getting all tangled up. So, here's the drawstring so you can cinch up your waistband or your hem of your vest to keep the heat in. So like I said, the pouch is on your hip, which is probably going to be a little bit more comfortable until you try to do something on your left side and you bump into that battery pack. Pretty neat. We ought to check out the competitor one that's kind of similar to this one. So that is very nice garment. Of course, the big key feature is the silver lining is to reflect the heat back at you. So kind of like what Columbia did back in the day, and they still do it today, but they try to do it. Oh, it's better because it's gold. it doesn't matter. Silver, gold, it both reflects. So that is that. So this is, for me, this is an extra large. So I'm about, 42-inch chest. So, like I said, between, for me, it would be, a mixed bag between large and extra large, but I'd rather have it a little looser, so you don't put a lot of stress on them wires. So the fabric is 100% nylon. The filling is, of course, 100% polyester, and the lining is polyester. And of course, do not wash with the battery pack installed or in or on, because you'll have a very unhappy power bank battery. So that is that. So we ought to see how much amperage this sucker takes. So like I said, this is only a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, so probably only got about 7,500, depending on the how high you got this thing running at. So we can test that, because that's what we do here. We test. We like testing. So turn that on. Switch back over. So this is a lot more technical than what most other channels would do. So we're at 5 volts. Of course, this is not a PD power type vest, so it's not going to trigger anything. So we're going to turn it on. And we're drawing about 2 amps, which is normal. 2.3 amps. That's about normal for these things on high. Even the, like in the past, I had like a 13 zone vest or jacket. It still draws about 2 amps because of the, did I actually go up in voltage? It's actually doing 6 volts. It is. So 2.4. Of course, it depends on what the... That's actually quite impressive that it actually triggered the PD power. It did. Because the little PD power light is on. That's different. I definitely have to get some more of these power packs. These are like 40 bucks a pop. They're worth it, because they'll charge faster, and if this thing is actually, needing that much voltage to light her up. Of course, having the light on or off really makes hardly any difference. About 10 milliamps. So that's actually quite interesting. I never had one that actually triggered the PD power. That's pretty cool. So that was on high, and then our medium. Now actually what these do, and they all do the same thing, depending on the temperature, it's going to cycle. So it's got pulse width modulation, so it's going to go on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, just like it's doing here. On and off, on and off. So it goes on almost 0, comes back up to 2. So that's how it regulates the temperature. And so that's on low. So medium is just going to be a little bit faster paced. So shorter cycles to keep the temperature. And of course on high it's going to be full on all the time. So that's pretty interesting. I do like that. So just for giggles, I do have another PD power bank here. Of course, this one I don't think would fit in the pocket very well. Yeah, actually it would. So actually you can stick a pretty good power bank in here. I'll show you on the other camera. See that? This is, you know, a third bigger, but you can actually stick one in there. It would fit in there. So that's pretty cool. So if you got a big honking PD power bank, because I know a lot of pockets, like my other garments, you can't stick. You can stick this in there, but you got to have it at an angle. And of course, it puts a lot of stress on the pocket lining, and it rips. Sometimes it'll rip through. So let's try this one out. Go back to the other camera. There we go. Let's see if it triggers this one. So turn it on. Yep, it did. For a little while. Brief second, it turned it on. Let's try that again. It does trigger the PD power. That is awesome. Of course, these other ones, they don't have that PD power, so they're not going to draw that extra volt. That is pretty cool. I like this thing more and more now, better and better all the time now. See, which one is this one? I can't tell which is one. This brand, this come from Amazon too. I don't remember the brand name though. But this is a PD power power bank. Here's another PD power bank. So this one's a PD power too. Let's see if it triggers this one too. If it triggers this one and the other one, it should trigger this one. Yep. PD power, come on. 6 volts. That is awesome. Of course, a little bit higher voltage is going to run, it's going to be a little bit more efficient. This is neat. I like this. Very cool. So if you got PD power banks about a third the size of the one that comes with it, you'd be able to run with them. So this is my other one. I don't think this one's PD power though. It claimed that it was, but in reality it's not. But even at 5 volts at 2 amps, that's still almost as efficient as the 6 volts at 2.4. So you definitely want to have. Of course, you can use any power bank, but it's gonna be more beneficial to you to have a PD power one. So that's pretty neat. I don't think this one's a PD power. No. So that's pretty neat. So overall, this is definitely a winner. So if you want get that Kemimoto, doesn't have the you know, as many heating pads as some, because some claim they got like 8, 10, 13, ridiculous amount of number, and of course you don't know until you actually see the garment. Like this one has a pad here, has a pad here, has a pad here. It's got the 2 pads in your pockets. That's your most common one that you're going to get. Because I do have another one, but it would never perform like this one. This one's got way more performance. So let's see, where can I find it? Where is that? Probably, oh, here it is. Oh yeah, this one has a liner too. So here's the other one that I have that's got the liner in it. Looks almost the same. Of course, this one's been laundered a couple of times. So it's got almost the same. It's the exact same lining. Of course, you can tell this one is not as shiny as that one. So you definitely want to take good care of these garments so you don't wear that shiny silver lining out. This one's been washed several times, and this is the one that, even though the cord keeper, it doesn't really keep the cord in, so you always end up yanking it out. I do anyway. Of course, eventually it's going to rip it right out. But this one is an oddball where it's got different kind of 2 different kinds of plugs for the power bank. But this one's not a PD power one. This one is your basic, everyday, plain Jane. But it still draws 2 amps. I gotta find the button. Where's the button? There it is. So this one's only got 2 buttons, so this one draws, 2 amps. I think this one's got a short in it. I think this one's got the short in it. Because I've worn this earlier this year, and if you move just right, it would shut off. So there's a break somewhere. Because I would have this on, and then you'd start feeling the chill, and you see that the lights were off, and then it would you'd boot it back up, and it would work for a little while, and then it would quit if you moved in a certain direction. So this one is, I think it's got the similar. Of course, the pads on this one is not as robust and big as the other one. Yeah, so there's that heating pad. It's got one in the collar. Got the one in the collar, and I think it's got the ones in the back. This one come from Amazon. It claimed it had all kinds of. I think it was like a 13 zone, but it doesn't have it. So there's the pads in the back, and of course, unlike this one, you don't see where they stitched it. This one has got really tiny pads in the back. So there's the collar. That's what that is looking at. And then here's the other ones. They're not as big as the other ones. So they're here. There's one there. The other one's close by. And then the other two are in the pockets. But they don't have that nice hand warmer pocket where you can yoke it out. So they're somewhere here. You can usually feel it. There's the wire. So it's in this area. It's in the pocket area. But it's only a little tiny little pad. Yeah, there it is. So that's my that's last year's model. Of course, it's been beat up pretty good. First thing that broke off was the zipper pull. And this one, if you pull on the wire at a certain angle, it shuts off. So it's only got the 2-zone. It's got one for your front side. Claims that it had a pad up here, but it never did. It doesn't have one. So it's supposed to have a pad here, 2 pads, 4 pads in the back. So it'd be it was supposed to have, because this is an Amazon one, so it's supposed to have a pad here, and 2 pads down below there. And then it was supposed to have the pad up here, same thing on the other shoulder, up here, and then 2 in the pocket. But it was just a basic model that Amazon claimed it had so much. So that one had the reflective lining in it, and I got another one. Got one hanging up. So this one's just a basic fleece lined one. So it doesn't have the reflective coating on the inside. But this one does have the fancy button that lights up in different colors and you can shut them off. But this one doesn't. I don't think it's PD power. So almost got the same plug. Probably because they come from the same factory almost. So this is the COVNLO, Convlo. So it's got the same features with this, where you can turn off the lights and stuff like that. So this is not a PD power one, so it's drawing, the 2 amps and stuff like that. So this one's got the 2 pads in your pockets. It's supposed to have 3 pads on your back and on the shoulder, upper shoulders, and your collar. So this one too, you can change the zones to whatever you want. Or you can control them all at the same time. Or if you don't want the light on, you can turn the light off. So that's got some similarities, but it doesn't have the PD power. So this one does have that flip-up collar, just like the first one. So turn this on high again. Get that warming up again. So this one you can see where the pads are. So there's a pad here, and then there's a pad on your shoulder blades, right there. There's a big pad mid-back, and then there's a pad lower back, and then the pockets. So this one has a little bit more heating pads than this one actually has the most heating pads of all three that I showed, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where the other one is collar, upper back, and pockets. So 4, 5 zone. So this one's an 8 zone. The other one was a 1, 2, 3, 5 zone. So you got 5 zone and an 8 zone. So there's this one. So you can tell that that pad is pretty small. But still does the job though. As long as you got some sort of heat being generated against your body. There's that one. And this one up here. And then we got that one. So these pads are definitely a little bit smaller. They're you might as well say your standard size pads for these things. So that that new one that I got, that's definitely got a little bit better padding, heating pads. So there's supposed to be one in the pocket. Yeah, there it is. There's that one. So there's your pockets. Still pretty small. Of course, this one had a bad day at the sewing machine. So there's your overall review. So if you're looking for a heated garment, I would definitely recommend this Kemimoto one, because it triggers the PD power. The heating pads are normal than average. Comes with a USB-C, the USB-C cable. The power bank is going to be a quick charge, so you're not going to have to wait hours and hours and hours for your standard power bank bricks to recharge back up. Of course, now I have no idea where I put it. I must have left it in that other vest. So there. So I think that was a pretty good overview of this. And of course, it looks pretty good. Of course, all my other ones are black and this one's silver, so I like this one. So that's a pretty good, as some would say, a review. So it looks good, feels good, has nice heating, and lots of features. I really like this one. Definitely have to get some more of them power banks, batteries, just because them sizes are far and few between to get a PD power one that is worth a darn. Because usually, like these ones take forever to charge. Even though they're PD power, they take forever. So there. So unfortunately, this one, even though in the manual it says it's got an app, you can control the garment through the app, but this one doesn't have it. So that's not a deal breaker for me, because why would you want to get your phone out every second to adjust the temperature where you can just reach up and push the button? So that's that. So that's it for this particular live stream / review of the Kemimoto heated vest PD Power. Awesome. Like I said, if you're looking for one or wanted to heat it, they make a jacket. I think pretty much the jacket is just like a vest, except you got long sleeves. So that's it for this particular live stream. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Till then.